CFMoto's debacle with their paid subscription app is turning into a bit of a watershed moment for the company. It's getting picked up on mainstream outlets like Louis Rossmann here on YouTube, who is a tech commentator on the right to repair subject, and Clippy no simpy, baby. So here we go. Logan, what is going on? How have things changed?
Yeah, so the plot has definitely thickened as maybe a consequence of trying to stay on the cutting edge. Some new information has come out since we made our last video about the subscription service from CFMoto. So I think we are here to just clarify things a little bit. This is not an apology video. We have nothing to apologize. No one's asking us to make this video. But there's a lot more to talk about.
Yes, there are more points. So the first thing we have learned is that CFMoto made a press release because this is gaining steam, gaining critical mass on the internet. And we have learned that CFMoto USA has an app called Ride Sync that they have no plans on charging for any of the features. However, that is very different than the CFMoto Ride app, which is their global thing, which is the thing we talked about where they will charge for features that they used to do for free on the bikes as shipped. There's also a little bit more. There's a T-Box thing we're going to talk about a little bit. And yeah, so the situation for the US riders seems to be okay. One of the few times in history, Logan, that US riders have escaped with the better of the two options. But global riders, yeah, it looks like it is as we reported and confirmed by a representative that I spoke to at CFMoto USA.
Yeah, so and that's the thing. A lot of these riders aren't being negatively affected by it. You know, U.S. riders specifically. Even riders in other countries might not care about using these apps that much, but it's a matter of principle. So I think that does affect U.S. riders and prospective CFMoto buyers in general, just the principle of the situation.
Totally. And we were talking about how CFMoto is a newer brand. They're trying to build their reputation, build their success in the US. And even though the app won't be paid and there's not going to be any slimy, greasy practices on this specific model in this specific market, I think the perception is going to be that, like, well, you know, I'm hearing that CFMoto users in other countries are getting kind of screwed over. And it just doesn't bode well. And it's kind of like, I don't know, you can't really imagine Honda or Yamaha doing something like that.
Definitely not.
KTM you can, for sure. KTM would pull some stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, KTM I feel like has always existed as this sort of like postmodern motorcycle company that's doing everything different from the designs to the tech practices or whatever. And obviously CFMoto is affiliated with KTM in ways maybe they've adopted some of that mentality.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe the KTM guys got together, CFMoto guys are like, hey, we got some ideas for you about what you can do.
And because I think it's worth noting, like, some of the things that make CFMoto cool as sort of an industry disruptor, right, are things that they do that other motorcycle manufacturers don't. You know, they don't ascribe to homologated specials. They don't make bikes for specific racing classes or displacement categories. They just make cool bikes that they think people will want and they'll enjoy. So that's really cool. But on the other side of that coin is like something most motorcycle manufacturers would not do. This sort of late stage capitalism, dystopian, subscription-based post-purchase. It's the same thing people say with like video games of all the like DLCs and but it's just nonsense. So it's very abstract in a motorcycle world. And I think it's a consequence of CFMoto thinking outside of the box compared to other manufacturers. So,
I mean, speaking of box, that leads me to the T-Box that I wanted to talk about.
And teed you up there.
Yeah,
teed you up for the T-Box.
Teed me up for the T-Box. So the T-Box is a device, it's sort of like a dongle, as we discovered, that gives you access to the telematics of the bike. That's stuff like the geofencing, the monitoring for the remote fuel, and the digital key and stuff like that. These are the features that were for free on the global bikes. They came with the T-Box. And as confirmed by the CFMoto rep I spoke to, T-Box comes on all the motorcycles, right? I think that's a good and a bad thing, if you follow me here. So T-Box in the US is great because you get all those features. They're never going to charge you for it. So we think, right? I'm not going to say that CFMoto will charge, but I think it opens up the opportunity to charge, right? Because you have this dongle on the bike that at any moment, like we're seeing with the global customers, they can say, oh, just kidding, we're going to paywall this feature you used to have, right? I mean, if it were me, I would just rip the T-Box out and just call it a day. But I mean, I don't like stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like you're getting a feature maybe you didn't even ask for, and then once you kind of figure out how to use it or start to implement it into your experience with the motorcycle, then they're like, oh, well, actually, you don't get to use it unless you pay. But I think that's a good point to talk about sort of how this has unfolded, because all this is coming out since we made our initial video of like screenshots of people on the app that's just like, oh yeah, if you want to use this, you have to start paying now, but we'll give you a free trial, but you agreed to that free trial retroactively, like when you first signed up for the app. So people are like 7 months into a 12-month free trial that they didn't know they signed up for. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's wild. So we actually had an Australian user who said, noticed some updates on my phone this morning here in Australia, just opened the app and it says something about Canada terms, but is asking me to confirm and agree to new terms, saying a paid service will commence after a 6-month trial fee or 6-month free trial, WTF. Having this feature is one of the reasons I bought this bike. They said, I'll be contacting the ACCC about this later today. I believe that's Australian Consumer Protection Consumer like Services or something like that. Yeah. He says it has to be a violation of consumer law. This user says there was no mention of ever having to pay for this feature set when I bought the bike. It's not on any paperwork that I signed. It wasn't in the terms and conditions of the app when I first activated my account either. If they want to charge extra for a feature my bike didn't have when I bought it, like Moto Play, that's entirely fair. But to remove functionality my bike already had when I bought it, like the digital key, over-the-air updates, and GPS-related security features, unless I pay for them with no prior warning, it can't be legal. And so that's what we're reporting on, right? We're like, these users bought the bike, they had the features, they got the T-Box, nobody ever told them it was going to be a subscription, and now those features they've enjoyed, they're saying, wait a second, you got to get this subscription now. I mean, heads have rolled in America for much less. You got to be careful, CFMoto. If you do this in the US, who knows what the riders will do, right? Like there's going to be mass revolt. And yeah, to your point, I think it's damaging to the reputation of the brand, even if it's not here in the US, even if the apps are independent, because the press release from CFMoto actually said CFMoto USA's Ride Sync and CFMoto's Global Ride app are distinct apps and are managed independently, including development, data security, and subscription practices. But to me, I'm like, well, I don't like the fact that the company has like two different subscription practices. Like, who is to stop them from doing this in the US?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is really confusing. And even when you look at the website that shows, the sort of pricing structure for the paid version of the Global Ride app, like the fee is in US dollars. It specifically says US dollars and then euros or whatever. I'm like,
so if it's always going to be free, why is there a table with US dollars? I mean, it's
a little concerning.
Maybe it's just to, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's just to have people understand the pricing in a strong, I don't know about strong currency, but known currency.
Sure,
I don't know. But yeah, another user mentioned as well, this is really bad for CFMoto users. I paid an extra 500 USD for T-Box installation, and now you're telling me that I need to pay more to keep this blank to keep it working. Man, I don't think anyone here in Mexico is going to pay for that service. The Maps app is buggy, is not as good as the original Google Maps. So we talked about this where the rep from CFMoto mentioned to me the T-Box just comes on all the motorcycles, right? But some users are mentioning that they're paying for the T-Box as extra. And we said that maybe in like markets that aren't as developed, they have like lower entry options and then you can add features.
Yeah.
I would be pissed if I paid $500 for this thing and then I got to pay even more money to keep it. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah, from my understanding is it sounds like in the US, because I think the gentleman you spoke with is very much obviously works for CFMoto USA and is thinking very much about those motorcycles. So I think in the US, they all kind of come with this T-Box dongle that accesses all this stuff. From what I've seen from the community in other markets, it's, the T-Box is an option. So because this story is picked up by Louis Rossman, again, big, tech and business and politic channel, heady stuff outside of my pay grade, but
that's not true. You love talking about that stuff,
but
just
anyway,
not on here.
Just not on here. He was saying too that he had talked to people who had spent up to $900 in addition to the initial payment for their motorcycle for this T-Box, and then are hit with the subscription.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't
crazy.
Disclosed.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think there's no problem if CFMoto wants to offer these services and just be transparent that it's going to cost per month. There's no issue at that. Like if you want to spend $10 a month to have geofencing, check your fuel gauge remotely on your phone. I mean, to me, that feature is very silly, but for some people it's useful, right? I think the geofencing one in particular. But you can't bait and switch like that. You cannot. It's like, we talked about this. We're like, Netflix and Hulu, you pay per month to access content. It makes sense. You like, they host all the material. They have the licenses. Like, you just pay to watch some stuff. The transaction's very clear. If I bought a DVD of a movie and I came home, I popped it in, and then it said, "Oh, to watch this DVD, you got to spend $10 a month."
Yeah.
I'd be livid. I'd be like, "What are you talking about? I bought this DVD." I think there's an implicit understanding that when you buy something physical, you're supposed to own it and enjoy it. And it's like the envelope keeps getting pushed of like, what are they willing to accept for us to keep, squeezing money out of them?
And I think that's what has people so up in arms about, the CFMoto rider. Because obviously this, in the grand scheme of global commerce, a motorcycle company with a paid app is sort of a small drop in the bucket. But I think people are so up in arms about it because they're just sick of having their boundaries pushed in seemingly everywhere. And you'd think for people that are well versed in motorcycling and they understand it's this sort of like, it's a industry that's driven by passion and people pulling the strings and making the decisions, like love motorcycling for whatever reason, and it has this like sacred special feeling to it, right? And so for people to apply just like greasy slime ball consumer physics to motorcycles feels like a Chinese slap in the face.
It's a Chinese slap in the face. Maybe they're just talking to KTM too much. Maybe. And just, I don't know, man. Yeah, it really rubs me the wrong way. And it's tough because I love seeing competition in the marketplace. I think it's great. I don't like these tech company, software company tactics applied to motorcycling. We don't need it. It's not necessary. Just make a great... And what sucks about it is CFMoto is making a good product. Like, I've ridden several of their bikes. They're pretty cool. There's questions around reliability. There's questions around them being Chinese. But, like, the last thing they needed was a question about, like, weird subscription practices because that's so, like, tender right now.
Yeah,
it's so tender online right now with that stuff.
And that seems like a big sort of cultural divide of... maybe CFMoto does just see their customers as numbers on a spreadsheet and they are just trying to, maybe it is all money first and not a drive for cool bikes or approachability and, creating new interests. And and I think that really, for a company that people are already very skeptical of for being Chinese, bolstered by the CCP, whatever.
New in the space. Yeah. Right?
And like right when people were kind of, maybe the tides were starting to change, with the 675 and then the 750 SRS and things like some new interesting novel additions to the motorcycle industry that could have some like positive outcomes beyond the bikes themselves, but pushing competition, all this stuff. Right when people were kind of maybe getting on board with CFMoto, they pull something like this. It just seems really distasteful and senseless and like a big greedy boardroom decision, not like anything relating to culture or passion or excitement or the things that motorcycles specifically people care about, right? Like it's not just any other consumer good. It's something that people buy motorcycles, especially in the States, for fun and passion and excitement and joy and all these things. And so to be nickel and dimed by a corporation is like, this isn't the industry to do that.
No. So I guess I'm happy to say that the US customers aren't going to encounter this, but I feel bad for the customers globally who are having to encounter this. If you have encountered this issue or are encountering it, let us know in the comments down below. We'll chalk this up to the court of public opinion. We'll see what you guys are saying about this as well. And I think my big thing for this is, like we were talking about, pushing the envelope constantly. It's crazy that if you don't accept their terms and you like had a digital key for your bike, you'd just be like stuck somewhere because you can't turn your bike on or whatever.
Yeah, like imagine if you
just never like agreed to the terms or you just forgot and you went out without your key and then it activated while you're out.
Right.
Bike gets bricked. I mean, that just sucks.
Yeah.
And you could say, oh, but you can always use the key. I'm like, until when? Like BMW heated seat subscription.
Right.
Until when? At some point, you got to say enough is enough. And so that's why we agree with Louis Rossman, Clippy no simpy, do better. Like, Yeah, my goal from this is to just clear the air about the Ride Sync app and Ride app. I genuinely did not know they were different because on Google, if you look it up, it says sometimes referred to as one or the other. And that was the research we went off the original Portugal video that we saw. But it does seem that the Ride app is the way that we reported it. So it is what it is. It's not looking good. So hopefully CFMoto comes through. I mean, maybe they go back on this. Maybe they say, hey, this was a mistake. We're going to honor the people. Like, I think the best thing they could do now is say, in the future, this will be a subscription.
Right.
Everyone who has it, it's locked in forever, you know?
Yeah, until a salesperson is sitting across the desk from you explaining that to you before you sign anything.
Yeah.
I feel like they have no grounds to start charging someone for anything. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not. Any final comments?
No, I don't think so. I think we
that's
did.
it.
Yeah, I think we did a good job giving the people the well-deserved update, you know?
Yep. We'll keep an eye on what's going on CFMoto. The latest we have is that press release that we got. And yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Hope you guys enjoyed today's quick update on CFMoto subscriptions. Drop us a comment down below, leave a like on the video, and check out Louis Rossman's video. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.